Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Drea Brit. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you, everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
We'll bring you the expert interviews, insightful discussions, and practical tips to make motherhood a little easier and help your family thrive.
Please keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to replace the advice, diagnosis, or treatment plans you have with your personal healthcare team. Please have a conversation with your trusted healthcare provider prior to making any changes or implementing any strategies or advice you learn from this podcast.
Whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Here at the Motherhood Alliance podcast, we challenge the status quo, ask the tough questions, and offer a supportive community for moms who want to make an informed, holistic choice.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Dawn from Soteria Wellness Holistic Therapies. We learned so much from Dawn in our 4 episodes together, including tips for prioritizing self-care and the power of massage therapy in episode 1, the surprising benefits of bodywork for kids of all ages, including special needs, in episode 2. Then in episode 3, we talk about how much breast health matters, and she gives some expert tips for cancer prevention. And then in part 4, we talk about exploring holistic therapies by thinking outside the box, maybe some therapies that you haven't heard before. These were all amazing and very, very insightful discussions. But a little bit about Dawn. She is a national board certified and Wisconsin licensed massage and bodywork therapist who holds advanced certifications as a craniosacral therapy diplomat. She's a prenatal, postpartum, and infant massage therapist, an advanced metacupping practitioner, a lymph star technician, and a level 4 touch for healing specialized kinesiology practitioner. Woo! She is incredibly smart. She has so many certifications, and she really knows what she's talking about. She is also an internationally accredited emotional freedom technique, or EFT practitioner, and a certified essential emotions coach. Dawn began her journey working with parents and babies as a home daycare provider, natural childbirth teacher, La Leche League leader, and doula while homeschooling her 3 children. I would say superwoman right there. In 2009, after seeing the profound pain relief that craniosacral therapy brought her mom, she began her journey into the world of bodywork and massage therapy with an early emphasis on working with growing families. Soteria's motto is enhancing optimal health throughout the lifespan, and Dawn loves working with all ages, from infants to elders. She loves to empower individuals and families with tools for natural wellness and truly believes in the body's innate ability to heal itself when given the right support. When Dawn is not in the office, she enjoys practicing what she preaches about self-care, receiving regular body work, reading, spending an abundance of time in nature, and hanging out with friends and her 3 adult children and their partners. All right, we can't wait for you to learn from Dawn, so let's dive into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back. We are here for episode number 4 with Dawn. We are so excited to continue to get some of your knowledge because I feel like your brain is an endless bank of knowledge so far. I have learned so much from these episodes that we have recorded. So if you guys have not gone back and listened to our episodes, we have covered self-care, we've covered body work, we've talked about pediatrics, we had an entire episode about breast health. It's been amazing. And in this one, we're going to be talking about thinking outside the box with maybe some different holistic therapies that you haven't even considered, or maybe you've heard about, but let's actually define what they are. But before we jump into some of those, I want to start with a word that you guys might hear often called biohacking. So, Dawn, can you share what is biohacking in general? And when you talk about biohacking, to me, there seems like there's multiple, an endless list of therapies or modalities that would fit into biohacking. So how do you know which ones to pursue and which ones are just kind of like a fad or a trend or not highly researched? So kind of a 2-part question to start us off.
And that is a huge question.
I was just going to say, let's just delve right in.
And interestingly, that's not a term I actually use when I'm referring to what I do. And I think part of it is because there are so many potential definitions and it's going to mean something different to everybody. So while bio, we're thinking biology, we're thinking our body. Hacking, it's like, okay, how do we optimize things, I guess, at a broad level. And so there are many, tools beyond maybe the traditional things that we've talked about so far in terms of body work and things like that. For a lot of people, if they hear that term biohacking, they might be thinking a little more towards like equipment or machines that can help do that. And I think there are other things we can also do, for ourselves, without equipment that would fall into that category of improving, function, mental, physical, emotional, on a pretty big level.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that. When I hear biohacking, because I feel like this is a really big word in the podcast world, people are constantly talking about it, but typically it's like things you would do at home where your morning routine ends up being 3 hours long.
Oh my gosh, it could be.
And let's be realistic, we can't do all of it. So it's like red light therapy, grounding, whether it's outside or with grounding mats. Like there's the at-home piece with equipment. There's the maybe at-home piece with no equipment, but there's also the clinical piece of therapies that are available. And so I think let's start really quick with some of those at-home pieces. How do you know which ones to pursue? Like for people that are living normal lives and don't have 3 hours in the morning to do all the things, or evening, how can people start to decipher which ones they should be trying to implement into their lives or which ones they shouldn't? Should they be talking to an expert? Do you have any resources that you really like that you could point people to? What's your take on this?
Let's start simple. Get outside. Number one, biohacking.
Find that sun, right? Yeah.
Get out in the sun, get your feet in the grass and the sand and the water. Nature is so powerfully healing, and we live most of our lives inside of these boxes. So I guess that's, probably my cheapest, easiest biohacking tip.
I love cheap and
no
easy.
Equipment needed. Play with your kids and get them outside. Get off those screens. Move your body. Eat good food. Sleep.
That's probably the answer I would give too. I always kind of go back to like, what are the things that God just gave us in nature and like made our bodies to do? And that's where you should start. Because there's plenty you can do just in there.
So much we can do within that spectrum that can change our lives and turn us into a full 180 if we really get diligent about just going back to some of those basics.
So when it comes to alternative therapies, these have also, I feel like the list has been growing of options and things that you can try. So when someone comes into your office, and they have a symptom, how do you decipher which therapy to start with? Do you have some sort of scan that you can do that helps them? How do you start?
So I offer wellness consultations. So sometimes people will just come in and we'll kind of talk through what's going on, especially if maybe they found the website and it's like, oh my goodness, I don't even know where to start. And it's like, okay, what's going on with you? Let's start there. And through that, the next step for some people might be doing something that we call an AO scan. Some people, we just configure things out by talking. It's like, yeah, maybe you need to see this body worker we have here because she could really help you with what you're describing. Sometimes it's a little bit deeper. And so we have some technology called an AO scan that helps us to kind of not just figure out what might be out of balance in the body, but actually offer the body some correction, as well as give us some guidance into which of the therapies and things we have available might be most beneficial, or which essential oils might be most beneficial, or things like that. And then it also works specifically in more of the mental emotional realm with some customized to you frequency music to listen to and chromotherapy or color therapy recommendations. So you can have an idea of, we actually sell some chromotherapy glasses, but you could also just look at it in terms of, oh, you know what? Blue came up as a balancing color for me. So I'm just going to wear a little more blue the next week, or look at blue nature pictures, or get outside and look at the blue sky today.
Wow, I'm already mind
I
blown.
know. I'm like, okay, sign me up. I'm ready. I just want to know what's, give me just the basics here. This is great. Yeah.
So how does the scan actually work? Are you laying down? Is this a giant machine? Is this something you put on your finger? Like, how does this work?
So the technology is actually based off of what was a big machine that used to cost about $30,000 and is now downloadable onto a cell phone. As you know, sometimes progress is good and helps make it much more accessible and something that I can actually afford to do for people. It is pretty much just something we would do in my office. It works in part using a bone conducting headset and in part from voice print. So just a 10-second voice print. Our voices tell a lot. Even in conversation, we listen and we can kind of feel what's up with somebody sometimes, if they're happy, if they're sad or whatever. And this really kind of hones into that and then uses that to generate those specific balancers for your body.
I'm fascinated.
We'll have to have another episode.
We're having
just
to back
this.
on because
oh my gosh,
we could just spend an entire episode on this. So that's amazing that you have something that you can kind of start with, and then that kind of the result from that helps you decide what type of therapy to proceed with next. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. So in this episode, we wanted to just touch on some common FAQs that Dawn gets and give you guys kind of a high level and some additional therapies that they offer at her clinic. But again, these are ones that maybe you've heard about and you're just overwhelmed with life and you can't become an expert in everything. And so we're going to let Dawn be the expert for you. So let's start with emotional freedom techniques. What is that? And what type of therapies are included in it? And when would that be appropriate for someone?
So emotional freedom techniques was actually kind of born out of thought field therapy, which was used in psychology, I'd say probably maybe in the 70s, 80s, a little bit more. And it was put together by a man named Gary Craig, who was kind of trying to figure out how to shortcut some of those benefits. And what ended up happening is he made it something that could be very, very accessible. And instead of this very detailed protocol, came up kind of with some shortcuts where basically you're tapping on various acupuncture points while focusing on an issue to help resolve, various emotions connected to that issue or event. And it is a very, very powerful technique. Part of its beauty is that it can go very deep, very fast. Part of the reason we need to kind of have some level of knowledge and really respect the process is because it can go very deep, very fast. So part of what I do with EFT is really teaching my clients how to use it at home for their own stress management on a day-to-day basis. So especially, moms and kids, and, there's times that I actually did kind of a group class for a family because they had a couple of kids with some special needs, and they even brought grandma. And we did kind of like just a group basic session. And it's like getting the whole family doing this EFT tapping work together around just some of the high levels of emotion in that class. It was so powerful. I would work with kids as young as about 4, and, I have a tapping puppy and a tapping kitty in my office that they can use. Because of the way our brain works, there's something called mirror neurons. So even if they're not tapping on themselves and no one's tapping on them, they can tap on the puppy or kitty and get those benefits. Or, mom or dad can tap on them if they don't want to tap on themselves. So we can adapt it even for young kids, which is really cool. There's an aspect of it that I've got advanced training in called picture tapping that also very much resonates with kids. You know how kids are just drawn to that, but also very, very powerful for adults. And that one's kind of nice because in typical EFT, we have to get very, very specific. And, it helps to be able to really identify specific emotions around a specific event. That's what's going to help clear stuff better. With picture tapping, we can be a little more broad or general. Or in the case of young kids, I can just say, hey, draw a picture of a tree. Draw a picture of a bridge. If you were on that bridge, where would you be on that bridge? And we can kind of use what comes out in their picture. And instead of having to tune into the emotions that some people don't like to do, we just tap on what you drew in the picture. and get some very profound results doing that. I've taken a couple of advanced classes, tapping out of trauma classes, just because we all have trauma. Sometimes I think people think of trauma only as big T trauma, right? So, abuse and bad accidents and things like that. But we all have many traumas that impact us. And oftentimes our core beliefs about ourselves are set in place before we're 6, 7 years old. And kind of wire how we go about our daily lives now.
Wow. Yeah, again, we could spend an episode on each one of these, but I think just having a general intro is super amazing and important, because if you feel like you need some emotional freedom from something, like Dawn is a good resource for that. Let's talk about infrared sauna. So this is all the rage too. People, obviously, sauna has been around for a long time, but what is the difference between a traditional sauna, like a steam sauna, versus infrared?
Okay, so a steam sauna, like it sounds, it's going to be steamy. You're going to get really sweaty and damp and potentially uncomfortable if you don't tolerate high heat well. An infrared sauna is more those kind of gentle warming rays of the sun, but it's, condensed into that box of the sauna that you're in, that container. And has some fantastic benefits in terms of helping with cardiovascular health, detoxification, pain relief, relaxation, even weight loss. It's like, I remember asking my personal trainer once, it's like, okay, can't I just sit in the sauna? Because that burns up to 600 calories, in a 30-minute session, 250 to 600, depending on the person. It's like, and instead of, doing cardio,
all of this, why?
It's like, I get the strength training part, but, instead of taking more time to do cardio and still doing the sauna, can't I just, it's like, no, you need both. Also great benefits for skin health, anti-aging, cellular health, that kind of thing. The sauna we use actually is considered a full spectrum infrared sauna. So it uses not just the far infrared, which helps with kind of more of that weight loss, detoxification, blood pressure reduction, relaxation stuff. It also has mid infrared and near infrared. The near infrared especially gets more into the skin stuff, the cellular stuff, immunity, wound healing, that kind of thing. And so there's different programs on it depending on what you're wanting to target. And then we also have chromotherapy lighting in there and acoustic resonance therapy. So the music that's playing, you can actually kind of feel the vibration in the bench. It's a 3-person sauna, so you can actually lie down if you're just one person. Or, you can go on a healthy date night and, come and enjoy a sauna together and then go out for a nice dinner.
Wow. I mean, so many different therapies within one. Right.
It really is.
I mean, there's heat, there's the infrared, you just said there's the music piece. Is there red light therapy inside of saunas too, or different light spectrums?
So they're different red light spectrums. Many of the infrared saunas are just far infrared. And then the near is where you're going to get more of the skin benefits. We do have some other devices that we use that have more of a combination. It's actually a red light massage wand that we use in sessions sometimes. And then we do have them available in our store as well, that use a combination of the regular 660 red light paired with a little bit of infrared. So it does get a little bit more of the warmth to it. And that's just kind of a handy tool. I love it for people dealing with TMJ or, tight necks or, hand, wrist, things you can reach easily with it. It's very, very handy.
So if someone came in to use the sauna, I'm assuming you would kind of walk them through,
of course,
which pieces or, they should be turning on. You would help them with walking through all that. So many benefits in one opportunity.
Yeah. And
cool.
It's so easy.
Yeah. You have complementary therapies listed on your site as well. What does that mean?
So complimentary, not free, but complimentary in terms of,
to be clear.
To be clear. Complimentary in terms of supportive to all of the other cool stuff that you're already doing for yourself, whether with us or, with other practitioners, your doctor, your chiropractor, your PT, other massage therapists. It's like, you know what? If you've got a fantastic massage therapist, don't let them go. It's like, but you can still come and use some of our other therapies. And And so some of the things we do, we have a device called an amp coil that uses a combination of PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic fields, and kind of some biomagnetism and sound. And it's in a coil device. That is one that does have some parameters. If you have different metal implants and things, we cannot use that one. But that has a lot of kind of like relaxation type things to nutrition support on more of a frequency level. And then also it can go into a full like 30-step detox program for people looking for that type of support. We've only had a couple of people that have used it for that. Most people that come in use it for their relaxation settings because they're just really lovely. We have a vibroacoustic therapy. So it's a vibroacoustic vibration and acoustic sound mat that's on an infrared biomat. So you get the benefits of the infrared and the amethyst and tourmaline that you're laying on paired with vibration and music. And the vibration is coming through those speakers, and there's some different settings, whether you're looking for the relaxation setting is going to go a little deeper into the muscles. There's stress relief that's a little more on the mental emotional stress balancing side. There's a deep sleep one that you cannot use unless you have someone to drive you home. And then there's an energy one that you don't want to do after probably 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because a little bit can go a long way and have you a little too awake. So, it kind of depends on your needs and time of day in terms of what you might use. We have a Theragem, which is using, it's considered a crystal fusion light therapy. So it's using full spectrum light that's shining through different rocks, minerals, crystals, and kind of combining all of those benefits together. So if you even think about the colors, we think of green and blue and purple as being more cooling. Well, those are going to have more of an anti-inflammatory type effect on the body if we're using amethyst, sapphire, emerald, that kind of thing. And then it also has colored light, colored filters that it goes through to enhance those benefits, where like our reds, yellows, oranges are going to be more stimulating. Let's wake up the lymph. Let's wake up the circulation. Hey, spleen, do your job. My immune system needs some support.
I feel like we need we need a video podcast or something where we can take a tour through Dawn's stuff, because it's like, wow, there's a lot that we can unpack here.
Yeah,
so
well,
much stuff
Dawn does have an event coming up on September 25th that is going to break all this down for you. So if you're hearing her talk through these different therapy benefits, and she has said something that like perked your ears, like, hey, this helps this specific symptom or this specific type of person, and you're like, oh, that's me. Wow, that's a very brand new type of therapy. I've never heard of that. You have an opportunity coming up to go and ask Dawn about everything that they offer at her office on September 25th. Where can they get more information on that specific event? Is it going to be on your Facebook, on your website?
It will be on the Facebook and website shortly. We're still a ways out from it, but it will be posted there as we get closer.
Awesome. Well, there is one more therapy, and this is one, again, we could do a whole episode on, but I did want to just ask you a specific question that I think a lot of people are wondering. But when it comes to essential oils, these have been around for a long time. How do you determine what brands are best? Now, obviously, there's going to be some of the top brands that are sold that, you're going to get what you pay for, most likely. But are there any brands that you feel okay about purchasing off Amazon, or how can people decipher in that world of essential oils on what is actually reputable and what is not?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to name brands specifically, but I think what you need to look at is how is that company doing their testing? And you want a company that's doing a pretty high level of third-party testing besides their own individual testing, ideally. You want to look at your labels. If it says not for internal use, don't put it in your food for cooking, even though it's something that we would maybe think we should be able to put it in our food because we use it as a spice. But the ones that would be suitable for that will actually have a nutrition supplement label that will let you know, hey, I could actually use this way because I ran out of cinnamon, so I can put a drop of cinnamon oil in, whatever I'm making here. So I think a lot of it is just doing a little bit of due diligence, realizing, specifically talking to, moms throughout that whole lifespan, what and how you use is going to vary if you're pregnant, right? There's some very specific guidelines you're going to want to be following then. If you're talking about little ones, again, very specific guidelines in terms of dilution, in terms of what you're using and that kind of thing. So I think there's that balance of, man, these are some amazingly powerful tools and things you can do at home. And it does take some education to really be able to use them safely and effectively. And I think we want both, and like you said, if you just grab something off of Amazon or at the grocery store, or even something that's like, oh, okay, it says organic. If we don't know how they're grown, the chemistry in there, it still might not be as effective. So that's where that testing comes into.
Do you have a specific book or website recommendation on where people can go to get educated on essential oils?
So a couple of the kind of reference books that I like, and we actually have some in our store. One of them is called Modern Essentials. One of them, I think it's called Essential Life. And some of those will even have, where you can kind of get some ideas by looking things up by symptom or by issue or concern, to give you some guidance.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is a topic we will definitely dive into in a future episode, but I think those are some of the common FAQs that I want to make sure we get out there. And Dawn is an awesome resource for this. Speaking of her wellness store that she has at her location, she is giving 5% off any item to our Motherhood Alliance listeners. So if you go in, you visit her wellness store, you find one of those books or something else, just mention this podcast and she can hook you up. So Dawn, thank you so much for joining us for all 4 of these episodes. You have taught us so much and we're so happy to have you on. Where can listeners connect with you if they want to learn more?
Thank you so much, Brittany and Andrea, for inviting me. I just love this opportunity. And your listeners can find us at soteriawellnessllc.com or on Facebook and Instagram.
Thank you so much, Dawn. This is just amazing.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.